Before Lester jumps in,
Yeah.
like I want to just mention that Tiptop and Clark's are both family businesses.
Yeah.
The Clark family, and then as well as like the Wasserman family.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's something that Lester might want to talk about, because I know like a couple of weeks ago, like this guy Galahad Clark was in the store. I don't really know him, but I got to talk to him, and he's a Clark. And then Lester's asking him about all these other Clarks. It's like kind of like a family reunion thing. So
A little bit.
Sound like a dynasty.
No. Far from it. I think he's overselling it a little bit, but there is some there. Galahad's grandfather, I believe, sketched out the wallaby on like a napkin, like while in a war zone or something.
In a war zone?
Yeah.
What's good, everyone? Welcome back to My First Kicks. This is episode 247. And this week, we're live, yo. Everybody say what up. Everybody clap. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. And I'm joined by two special guests, Adir and Lester from West NYC. Yo, huge honor. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for letting me do this. Thank you for letting us all embrace West NYC. I've actually grew up on the Upper East Side when I was
What street?
70th Street.
Okay.
Yeah, 71st and 2nd. Yeah. 71st in York was like my first time I lived out there, next to New York Presbyterian.
Sure.
Yeah, and there was one time you guys had a release out here, and that was the first time I ever came across. Took the Crosstown M72. That trail is insane.
Did we have the shoes?
No, I struck out.
Well, thanks for coming back.
Yeah,
Good to see you.
Since then, you guys have, historically, this is a historic avenue, a historic street, West 72nd. You got the Grace Papaya down the block. And
Who?
Isn't it Grace?
I don't know. I've never seen any hot dog stands here.
Oh, right. My bad.
Yeah, no. They didn't want to be in the video, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Now you're peeling back the onion on that one.
I may or may not have gotten breakfast there today. But
as also, if you haven't yet, I've had Adir on the show before. We talked about his journey, so we're really going to focus on Lester here. And I'm going to hit you.
Surprise. Okay.
So I'm going to hit you with the question that I ask everybody each week, and that question
Sure.
is, what's your first kicks? What's that first pair of sneakers you absolutely need to have?
So, where do I begin? I guess the first pair of shoes I really needed was I was in summer camp, and I grew up next door, selling shoes at Tiptop, and it's a multi-generational business, but we sold shoes, not sneakers. And then eventually my dad got New Balance because they came in sizes and widths. So that was a big deal back then. We had shoes for that person, but we didn't have athletic shoes. In fact, the industry did not have athletic shoes for that individual. So that was a big deal. And but they weren't necessarily the coolest shoes at that time. Mm-hmm. And I was getting ready to play tennis at camp, and I was first falling in love with that sport. Mm-hmm. And I knew that what I had, I didn't love, but I had them. They were mine, and you're a kid. You take what you get.
Yeah.
And especially in those days. And fast forward to like visiting day, and I think I wrote my parents a letter and described this shoe called the AirTech Challenge.
Oh, okay.
And there used to be an athlete's foot on the other side of this wall.
Oh.
So my dad was friendly with the guy from the athlete's foot, and they used to trade shoes sometimes, sneakers, New Balance, because that was the only one we had. And that's sometimes one of us would be missing a width or whatever, and just to satisfy the customer. And a good neighbor, right? Mm-hmm. You're a good neighbor. Can I borrow some sugar, neighbor? Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So what goes around comes around, and sure enough, come visiting day, I had a pair of AirTech Challenges. That's and it was a great gift for my parents.
I mean, it's so interesting too, because like Tiptop, if you know, like it's such a heritage store where
Thank you.
It's the shoes, like these are shoes.
Brown shoes. Yeah. And in those days, mostly leather sole. When I first started in 1992, in high school, was mostly leather soled shoes.
That's wild. The trade. I want to know, what was the trade? Now I want to know what the trade.
You told me that the pair you were wearing, the New Balance, was a pair of Worthies.
Okay.
So maybe it was a pair of like Worthies, New Balance 740s.
Could have been. Probably was.
I mean, look, New Balance is out of my depth over here. So I would have to I need a visual or something. Is that a number? 997?
Well, a lot of their shoes are numbered, but
Yeah.
the 740 was like the James Worthy shoe, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
yeah.
Oh wait.
That was
I
the
remember
first athlete,
Yeah.
and I think the last one.
That's
they
the
ever
number, right?
signed. Yeah,
740?
I think that's the first and only. Well, no, now they have athletes
Right,
again, but they
yeah.
went through a number of years, a
Yeah.
number of decades rather,
Yeah, for sure.
where they had no athletes.
Wasn't it like endorsed by no one? Was it
endorsed by no one?
Yeah.
Correct. I think
Oh.
Worthy got caught up in something that didn't align with their values and image, and they walked away from that business.
Wasn't there? Because I know Joe Freshka did a drop where it was like, what if Michael Jordan signed with New Balance? Because there was a story that Michael Jordan was going to sign with New Balance when it was like,
Right. I had not heard that story,
yeah,
but
or like it was like a hypothetical maybe.
okay.
Yeah, because I know he was like going to do Converses, and those Converse was the
Converse
big
and
thing.
Adidas lost him by
Yeah,
small six figures.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
What is it like selling? I mean, as you called it, he coined it in his episode, selling ugly shoes. Did he ever tell you that?
We've had that talk
I don't know if
before.
you listened, but
Yeah, no,
I
I-
might be in trouble now.
Yeah.
You might have just got me in trouble.
I'm getting
He's
written up.
he's got a store full of them.
Yeah.
I just called them all ugly, but
So, before we talk about the ugly shoes, let's talk
Yeah.
about the reason that we've lasted 85 years,
Yeah.
right? And that's the level of service and the dedication to the customer, and not only putting them first, but our people on the floor solve. They come up with solutions for people with bad feet.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, come shoes that fit bad feet.
Yeah.
And some of them may not be the prettiest shoes in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Sizes and widths, shoes with fitting features, straps, laces for women, but hey, we've managed to do it and do it well, I think, for 85 years and wait on have a bunch of celebrity customers in between as well as regular everyday folks, neighborhood, tourists, both foreign and domestic. So I'm real proud of the work that we've done next door.
What's really like prevalent, I think that's the right word.
Good
prevalent,
word,
thank you, is the customer service for sure. I think that I recently said on an episode, customer service is a lost art now, especially when we're in these like current days of like these stores that we're always going to. Like, I feel like customer service has been taking a super step back. And whenever
we're good, we're not even have to ask you your size.
Yeah.
And they fit like a glove, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, it's interesting when I pass by your store, when I pass by Tiptop or here, West, like the customer service is always just like, you need anything? Like, and next door is like, it's like it's like butler service.
Yeah,
next door.
that's the reason for being.
I don't want to blow up his spot, but like they kind of have a system there at Tiptop where it's like if there's a customer that, let's be real, I don't know how many of y'all have worked retail, but there's always that one customer that no one wants. And that they call them Lester customers.
Yeah.
Where like they just, they'll call Lester out of his office or something, or if he's on the floor, and he takes those customers that really no one else has the time or patience to deal with. Sometimes they could be like an hour-long customer just to buy a pair of insoles or something.
Or not.
Yeah.
Or not even. No, I'm saying not that the time is not invested, but they could float, they could just walk that day.
How like, why doesn't that frustrate you? Because for me, it would frustrate me.
It does, but it's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
It's all part of the price of admission. Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't.
Like somebody's got to do the work, and it's also like we know that if that's left up to someone else, like some of our staff, after an hour, they're probably going to do something that's going to get us a bad review. So
it's wild. And like I was saying, like Tiptop has been here for 85 years.
Yes.
And so you've seen this block change so much. When I was coming,
my God.
yes, when I was coming, I told you about this, that there was this it was like there was a Greek restaurant there that I was literally the only time I would come here, I would come and get it. And it was called like
what street are we talking about?
No, right across the street.
Right across.
And they
the
had
street.
like some of the most banging gyro, whatever you want to call it. All of them. all of them.
What was it called? Oh yeah, under the Triad Theater. You're right. I don't know what the place was called. I've lived on this block for decades. I don't even know my neighbors. Yeah, sad.
But it's crazy that how wild this block has changed. But I remember when West first started. Like, what influenced you to be like, let's do this?
Concept for the store. Or how did it come to be? Or
both.
So when I first. After I went to college, I worked at Nordstrom for about a year in New Jersey, and got used to dealing with customers and people, and learning how to sharpen my my game, I guess, and just how to talk to people and how to understand what it is that they're looking for. And then I joined Tiptop in 1997, or maybe it was early '98, and I know myself when I was working there at that time. Yes, I wore regular shoes to work, but at the minute I got out of work, I was going to the gym, Equinox on Amsterdam Avenue.
Yeah,
and everyone there had cool looking shoes, but on the way over and back to the gym, I'd see people walking around the street in these cool looking shoes. At the time, there was a New Balance trail shoe, the 801. They sold a zillion of them. M801 AT. Was the number. It was gray with a light blue end and yellow and like a mud guard. And it was like the first cool trail shoe that came out. But what made it cooler was that it came in narrow, medium, and wide for women, and medium wide, extra wide for men. And I started seeing a lot of those. And we were carrying New Balance at that time, but we didn't have that shoe.
Yeah.
So I went to my dad, I'm young kid at that point and have no experience in ordering shoes, and don't want to tell the chef how to cook the dinner, because that's not right, especially when you just got there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
you don't want to step on toes, literally.
Not literally. I like that. So I told him, and I said, I'm seeing this shoe all over, I think we should have it. And he said, all right, call this guy. And he gave me the number, and I called him up and I introduced myself to him. And boy, I guess I was like 21 at the time, and anyone older than 21 was like 100. You were either 21 or you were 100.
Yeah,
and there was very little in between.
Yeah,
you were either a kid or a grown up, or whatever. But what? I think everyone in this room kind of has an idea what I'm talking about. So you're either 21 or you're 100. Anyway, I call up this 100-year-old guy who's not 100, but he's also not 21, and I introduced myself, and he said, "Oh, you think you can sell those shoes on 72nd Street to your customers?" And I said, "Yeah, why? I don't see why we couldn't. Why do you think we can't?" And he said, "No, it's not that you can't. It's that I never thought that I'd get a call from you guys looking for shoes like this from us." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." I said, "Do you have any?" He said, "No." And I said, "All right, well, can we get some?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, when?" And he said, "I don't know, like 3-4 weeks. There were no computer or whatever, you wrote down sizes on an order pad, you faxed it in, it was a whole different world. The speed of movement was considerably less. People didn't have to have it yesterday, and sure enough, we waited and they showed up. It was like in the old days, mail order catalog. Like you ordered something and it came.
You had a ton of mail order catalog.
Yeah, we had a ton of that business. And, by the time they got the catalog and the shoes, hopefully you had it.
You used to advertise the catalogs in Rolling Stones magazine in like the 80s.
In the back of Rolling Stone magazine.
Specifically for
That's awesome.
Tip-Top Birkenstock selection.
Wow.
Yep. My father, may he rest in peace, was a visionary to a degree, and always, was always exploring different things. He never was complacent. He was always looking for the newest and the best, and different vehicles and vessels to spread the Tiptop name and develop new customers. We used to do a ton of advertising in the New York Times, and albeit an expensive proposition. It solidified Tiptop as, one of New York City's premier retailers.
You'd also advertise in like foreign newspapers, so that tourists, when they come to New York, they know to stop by Tiptop.
We definitely did that.
Like in languages like you don't even you don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, but
No, I don't know for sure.
Yeah, but they knew to come to Tip Top.
Yeah.
And also a good part of that Danny did was he bought the phone number 1-800-WALKING.
Oh,
So it made those ads like a lot easier, and that's still like our phone number today.
that's smart.
But
That is smart.
Yeah, he played around with it for hours. You know, in the old. I know we're probably digressing, and I'll get us back on
yeah, and
track
there's a
in
lot
a
of
minute.
Tip-top stuff.
It is,
We're in
but
West.
We're tiptoeing, man. We're tiptoeing.
In
We're
those
getting there.
days, pre-internet, you had to look up a store in the phone book if you
Yeah.
wanted to get it right. So there were all different tricks to get with T. You're towards the right of the alphabet, right?
Yeah.
But you know, so if you put Acorn Slippers / Tip Top, you were at the front. So there were lots of different tricks, and he was always interested in learning the next.
How to get to the top?
Exactly.
How to get to the front?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's your show. Back to you.
No. I was saying that like that. So then, how does West become to be?
Oh, I forgot about that already. So you know, after the New Balance AT comes in and the shoe sells out, and we decided, my dad anyway, decided that we were going to open a children's store, which is a couple doors to my right.
Right. Yeah.
One door in between the adult store and the kids store. There's one other retailer there, but
That was the athlete's foot where you got the shoe.
right.
Is
Yeah.
now the kids
correct.
store.
So kids wear sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even back in those days, I'm talking about in the late 90s, they still wore sneakers. Maybe not as much as today, but a ton. So we needed the official sneaker brand, which was Nike, still is.
Yeah.
And we had to have it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, my father made some calls, and they came and looked at the location and, you know, realized that it was an old athlete's foot. So it wasn't a new account. It was kind of an existing thing. And
Right. Yeah.
you know, it was far easier than the horror stories that you've heard of, you know, throughout
Yeah.
to get it across the finish line.
Yeah.
So anyway, fast forward a little bit further,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm selling shoes in Tip Top, and you know, we're picking up other lines, Puma and whatever it was, and you know, there was a great guy at Nike at the time, Gene Smith, and he went to Georgetown and I went to Syracuse, and we just clicked, and you know, he was also, he liked to learn and he liked to experiment with things, and he took a look at the store and he was like, Tip Top, he's like, I don't know, but maybe, you know, and sure enough, he said, go for it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what's going to happen, and it worked out really well,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now you're getting all these West kind of customers in that store,
Right.
so it's, what's going on in here? You know, like, who's the real customer? You know, will the real customer please stand up? And but there's two of them. But you know, but who are we losing focus? My dad, are we losing focus? No, it needs a life of its own. It can stand on its own two legs at this point. So let's spin it off and move it. Now we have to see where we can move it to.
Yeah.
And this, where we're sitting right now, used to be a beauty parlor. My grandmother, may she rest in peace as well, used to get her hair done in this building, in this
A lot
space
of
that we're here.
outlets.
A lot of outlets.
So I know I'm rambling a lot. But,
No,
but,
you're good. This is what it's about.
But sure enough, that was we opened the doors August 25th, 2007.
Yep,
I remember the
remember.
day. It was a
Yeah.
Saturday,
Yeah.
and
Everybody like on the forums, everybody was very hyped.
wow,
Yeah. So I
good
remember
to hear.
that day too. So
I was hyped.
Yeah. It was interesting because like on the east side,
Right.
like I'm making this seem like I'm super far, but like on the east side of Manhattan, we just lost Slope City Skates. I think that was the name of the skate shop. Right?
don't
We
know.
talked about that.
We spoke about Pipe Dreams.
Pipe Dreams. That's what
Yeah.
it's called.
That was on
like,
East 86th Street,
Yes.
or 85th
In
or
York.
86th.
Yeah.
York, yeah.
Yeah. And we just lost that.
Okay.
And so I didn't have a place where I can get like sneakers that was kind of near me.
Right on.
Outside of the Foot Locker that used to be on 70. What was it? It was like 70. It was on
On Second Avenue.
yes. 70
I think it was
second.
Third Avenue. I know where it was.
Yeah.
Right now,
Right
it's
across the
a
street.
Vineyard Vines store today.
Yeah,
think.
This is super regional. Sorry, but there's it used to be a Gristides, and then the Gristides across the Gristides
Fuck
was
Gristides.
With
all due respect.
And that was the only other spot, and then that shut down, and I was like, damn, I'm not gonna be able to get any sneakers, and then I found West, and
Thank
it's
you.
like, that's when I was just like, I gotta come here,
August 25th, 2000, Saturday, August 25th, 2007.
and the reception was great, you know.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going to be that first day.
Yeah.
But we did business
Yeah.
more than I thought. I was terribly, concerned because you never know. Will it stand on its own 2 feet? Will it or won't it?
Yeah.
And the customer is the ultimate judge.
I mean, shoot, the customer's always right.
Yep.
I hope you've been enjoying this week's episode live from West NYC with Adir and Lester. And if you really have been enjoying the podcast, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment on this episode or any episode that you're watching. It really goes a long way. And of course, new to the page, hit the hype button. It only lasts for about 7 days, and it helps people see the podcast. So it really does help me out. And of course, if you're listening to this on any audio platform, leave a 5-star review. And if you really want to help me, please write a comment or a review in any Spotify or Apple, and I will read it at the end of an episode right before the Patreon shoutouts. And speaking of Patreon, please become a Patreon. It really helps me, pay for a lot of this stuff. So patreon.com/myfirstkicks got 2 tiers, $3, $5 tier. I might start getting rid of that $3 tier because nobody's been signing up for it, but it's all good. $5 tier definitely just really helps the podcast. And of course, let's jump back right into the live episode.
Right. Yep.
How did you two meet? Because I know we touched on it. And
I needed some shoes and I came in.
But I wanna know your impression of him.
So he came into the store to buy, like he said, to buy a pair of shoes in a snowstorm, I think.
The day before.
The day before the snowstorm.
A little bit prepared.
And it was it was like high COVID, I think. We had opened the store back up in July after closing it in March, and I think he probably came in November or December, whatever it was. So, we're still working really thin, and customers, this is not a young neighborhood per se, so it's customers are very concerned over here, and they weren't really coming in. So this guy comes in and he's buying a pair of boots, and he says, "Hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you have anything?" And I like scratch my head in disbelief. Honestly, I'm like, what is he? Does he not know what's happening in this world? I'm like, I'll take your number. I'll take your number. And, I don't know if I asked you to put it in my phone or I put it in my wallet or I don't even have a wallet. That's not true. I just shoved it in my pocket possibly. And, I thought I followed up with him, but apparently I never did. I never called him back.
Yeah. He says it on his episode.
Yeah, I call you.
I never called him, but I really was convinced that I called him.
Yeah. And then he was like, he called you.
Yeah.
And you were like, can you start?
You're just like, like you could do Tuesdays, packing boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
I needed a guy to pack boxes
Yeah.
because at that point, the web was really doing the heavy lifting as the customers were deathly afraid to come into the stores.
Yeah. That it's interesting too, because like just thinking about that time, right? Like for you to think like I need to have a job right now,
Well, I was at B&H. I needed.
I know. I was gonna say, did you know he was working at B&H?
I did. Yeah. No, he was clear about that.
Yeah.
That role, if you listen to this episode, that role was very interesting.
At B&H.
Yeah.
That's thrilling. Yeah.
But he was dealing with customers, so I think that like dealing with customers of high value is is an interesting skill that you can only do
especially when you're not commissioned, so you don't really care. Like they're like buying $20,000 cameras and you're just like in the returns department or whatever, and you're like, yo, like I've got no skin in this game. if I scratch the lens by accident, like nothing's really gonna happen to me. You know, Jordan knows. I mean, he's holding the camera.
Not to shake the head, but it's just interesting. What I'm saying is just like it's interesting because I worked in luxury candy per se, and
Where did you work?
Dylan's
At
Candy
Dylan's?
Bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
You went to high school.
I went to high school with her. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did.
She's a good
Very
friend.
nice
Yeah,
person.
yeah, she's great.
I see her occasionally.
Yeah, she used to call me neighbor all the time.
Okay.
Because I lived on 70th and she lived around that area.
Oh, cool.
And then she'd be like, "Hey neighbor," and
She's
then
nice.
became friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but it's just interesting like dealing with people that have a lot of money. And
Yeah.
so like doing that, I feel like it translates pretty well over here, would you say?
I think so. I mean, we have customers from all walks of life. We
Yeah.
have very wealthy ones, and we have ones that are not so fortunate or what. You know, we're here to service the masses and the people, and you know, they all
Everybody
matter.
wants you. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Each
think
one matters.
Where it like really added the most value though was that I was going from a business that was like super buttoned up, super high tech, like everything had barcodes, all scanned, all that, to like a place where like if you're ever in the stock room, like you've got no clue where anything is. There's no order. It's just all chaos. And I was like, you know, I helped bring a lot of that like, you know, systems changes to how they ship out orders and that kind of stuff that ended up being like very valuable off the rip.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's
But-
fire.
But yeah, that otherwise like the customer facing stuff, like it was totally different because I mean at the end of the day, like when I started, I was packing boxes, so
Yeah.
I was so far away from a customer, you know. Like,
so
yeah.
then how does Adir move up the ranks to where you're like, you know?
I think he did I think he did a video, or he expressed interest in things beyond the boxes and the tape guns and
Yeah.
and the computer, not meaning like the shipping labels and all that, but he always, anytime he came to me, he always had an idea. You know what I'm saying? What if we did this, or what if we did that? So I could see the wheels were turning.
Yeah.
He had longer hair at that point, I think, but
Yeah.
underneath the hair is there were still wheels turning.
Yeah.
And you know, he whatever task or ask I had of him, could you look into that? Or sometimes I'd ask, or sometimes he'd say, "Look what I found."
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we got along quite well. And but I know he's a bright guy, and
Yeah.
and you know, sometimes look, I've hired great people, I've hired okay people, I've hired people who've been with me an hour, and people who've been with me, you know, for a lot longer.
Yeah. It's the nature of the business.
It's
for
the
sure.
nature, you know, it's the people business, and the
Yeah.
people are the hardest part.
I'd say where things really changed was like it kind of hit a point where like Danny got a little bit interested in me, and
Yeah.
then it was like got to this point where it's like, hey, we got to bring this kid around. And then like I went to like a trade show or two with you know Danny, Lester, Randolph,
I think the
Margot.
On Running video did something for, you know,
Yeah,
you made a
he was-
video
he
with
was
On
into
Running,
that,
and you
and-
did one with Birkenstock.
Yeah.
And after that, he was like, wow,
Yeah,
you know,
So that
this
was-
guy's got something.
I mean, I will say,
Cool.
like, even though this is kind of like foreshadowing, but like his insight in the like just the sneaker industry overall, like I think the way he moves within it and like always is trying to learn more about it is something that I find like I feel like it's kind of rare, but a lot of people just don't really.
Well, I feel like a lot of this is like all about, you know, being informed, and like
Yeah.
I think especially like with the store like Tiptop, like Lester and I are in a very like privileged position to see like more shoes than anybody else really.
Mhm.
You know, that keeps us the most informed because we're looking at shoes with widths that frankly most people never even heard of, you know, and seeing all that, we're seeing how different shoes are made, kind of like what are different constructions that you don't typically see on a pair of shoes that like, you know, you're seeing, to bring it to Clark's a little bit, you know, that you saw like Ronnie do with the Wallaby,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of stuff where it's like, you don't think it's necessarily imaginable, but then like we'll see other shoes that are like dress shoes on sneaker bottoms, you know, that's something that we've been seeing as a trend as a whole, you know, where it wasn't just like the Cole Haan Lunar Grand, like that was a good shoe, but like there's been probably like a decade since then of like shoes that kind of followed
Yeah.
from various different brands, whether it's Florsheim, Johnson and Murphy, that we carried them all, you know, and we're seeing like broader trends that I'd say the stores or the sneaker obsessed individuals don't typically see, or they're just not in their purview usually.
It's I mean, since we're talking about Clarks, you know, I was reading that article, and so there's this long-standing relationship between Tiptop and Clark.
Yes.
And can you talk about like how Clarks has become the fabric of Tiptop?
Just before
Now it's a much bigger company, obviously, but you know, there are still some people named Clark there,
which is crazy.
Which is pretty cool.
I didn't even know that this was like a family business. I'll be honest. I didn't know that Clark's was like.
Yeah, there's people.
That's interesting. How did you feel about that?
what, not being in either of the families?
Yes.
I don't know. That's I mean, I think that like even though, you know, I'm not in either of those families, both parties make us feel like family, you know, like there's certain people at Clark's that are honestly like some of the people that Lester and I are closest to in the industry. And I think that's kind of been the key to making this project happen, was just people that are vouching for us. Whether it's like Vinny or Jeff, like those are the guys that really fought for us and made this happen. And honestly, I think because of them, we could have been anybody and they would have got this project to happen because they cared so much. And we owe it all to them. And I mean, honest, I wish they were here, but Jeff doesn't live around here. Vinny's under the weather, but I'm sure they're gonna watch.
Yeah, that'll be. We've been staring at this blue pair.
Yeah, so I've got some samples
we got
here.
Some samples here.
Okay,
because I'm pretty sure people were like, "Why are there
so
three
how
different
this?
shoes
Yeah,
like this?"
I kind of brought these out to like show like how this project happened, how it started. It started with I had a bunch of fabrics that I brought to Vinny, as well as some CADs of like mock-ups with those fabrics, and he sent it over to the pro. I mean, he convinced them that this is actually something that should happen, and then eventually brought it to the production team, and from there on out, we met with them. The initial concept was something that they said they had something else similar coming out.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it come out, but I guess I'm excited for it to come out.
Yeah.
But they sent us like a sheet of all different fabrics that were similar that they could use. And on that sheet, I kind of picked out, they told me to pick out two colors. So we picked out this blue one. It's like kind of like gray, blue, and then also this navy.
I did not realize this is gray blue.
Yeah, I don't know. What would you say? It's just gray?
I would have said gray, but the one behind your left shoulder is gray.
Yeah,
They're the
this
same,
one has
it's
a
the
little
same
bit more
material.
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah, it's the
All
same.
right, so it's gray.
But we went with like the tonal like shadow sprayed sole, and kind of when it came in, we didn't really like the sole being like not the crepe because it just didn't look so authentic. And as you could see right there's like a chip from where Mike tried to peel it off to see how it looked without that. Yeah, right here. And then we also kind of thought that it needed like some sort of branding on it on the outside. We knew that it was going to say West on the insole. We, you know, this was the text and the logo.
Yeah.
We changed the text to be a little bit bigger on the final. And we narrowed it down. We were like trying them on. Me, Mike, and Mark were talking about which color we like best between these two colors. And we ended up going with the lighter one. We liked the navy. We really had nothing against the navy. It's just like, if we were going to pick one, the light blue gray option to us just seemed like something that, honestly, it was a nail biter. I don't know why we chose it. I like it. I'm happy we chose it. But as you can see here, we have like different like branding options that we were trying out to see what, and it ended up with being this is the final sample. Ended up being this woven label on the top there. And then came the laces. We wanted like different lace options, and they shipped us like way too many to actually decide. I'll be honest. And these aren't all of them because I gave a pair to Mark, right? And I gave a pair. Did I give a pair to Mike? I don't know. Yeah. So figure we got like 8 pairs of laces that we were deciding between. And as you could tell on that sample, there's actually a different color gray lace
Yeah.
to go with the shoe.
Yeah. This one's darker.
Yeah, that one's darker. But that's kind of how it all happened. I'd say like this was out of the projects Lester and I worked on. This was like the most seamless with production. Like we were able to get so much of this done just over email. Not everything required like a long Teams call that we were asking, oh, what if we change this? What if we change that? It was really just like, hey, they ship us the lefts. Like, as you know, these are half pairs. They didn't ship us the whole pairs. So ship us a left, ship us a right or whatever. Take it from there. Here's our revisions. Boom, looks cool. And that's kind of how it came about. And I think that
how we feeling
Yeah.
about which, since we have the finish, but like, what are we thinking? Navy.
And be honest, you can say there's no wrong answer. Navy, okay.
so should we come back and launch the Navy? Yeah.
Navy.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I put them in.
But wouldn't the yellow laces do the same thing on the Navy?
It would, but I'm just like, I guess to affirm, like it was still a good call. I think like the laces really do make that great pair pop.
Yeah, I think at the time what we really liked about the gray pair is that there were more colors within the yarn. Like there's a yellow and a light blue, whereas like the navy was just blue throughout.
True.
And that's something that we just wanted like another layer of complexity to it. And honestly, the one thing that I forgot to mention that really drew us to this shoe, that drew us to this fabric, was that it's something that like you could like you look at it and it's like you could like kind of feel it in your mind. Like it's kind of got like a little bit of like ASMR to it, where it's like super 3D. The navy looks a little bit flatter than this with the different colors, and like I think that's why we ultimately landed on it. And I think that like now like wearing it, like it's a fun shoe to just like throw on because the material is so soft. Like it's like one of those shoes that you kind of just want to like rub your hand. But yeah.
The Lester,
It works, yeah.
when he brings this a collab to the table, like what are, because I know you're saying that you love brand new ideas and stuff like
I
that.
like ideas, yeah.
So like,
not all ideas are good, but I'm interested to hear.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like when he was like, let's do this Clark's collab.
Yeah.
Like what was your initial reaction?
You got nervous.
I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your thought process for all the collabs? Because
It's not specific to the shoe. He's just saying about the
exactly.
idea of doing Clarks.
That's just me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to sell it to me. What's the reason for it?
Yeah.
How does it work and why does it work? I want to understand what you're seeing.
You got to also remember that at that point we're talking
Because I was
like
going
a little bit over a year ago. We
Yeah.
didn't really have like any recent collabs
right.
done at the time. So Lester was just timid as a whole, thinking that I don't know what's going to work or not. I don't know what the bandwidth is of West when it comes to special projects and all that. And now Adir's talking about a shoe, not a sneaker.
Right.
Right.
Like what's
And that's
actually
that's a very important point because the rate of sell is completely different.
Exactly. And like you tying in the Tiptop stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like it's a bit different from the
Yeah,
previous collabs.
I mean, so this one, yes, it was the first. Well, I guess we didn't have other ones out at the time when we started working on it, or we just launched one maybe. We might have just launched the Wizard.
Possibly.
No, I think it was like
was
around
after,
the
no?
time. Yeah, it might have been a little bit. I don't know, around then. But this was pretty much the first shoe we worked on right after Lester's father, Danny, died.
Right.
And I mean, we're pushing Clarks to get this done, so it's not like a done deal right away. And then once we actually like finally start talking to them about drafting a sample and all that, we're having those conversations. Like that's kind of when Lester and I have a conversation where Lester's like, "Yo, it'd be really cool if we could have some sort of shout out to Danny there," because like, this was like the first collab. We couldn't tell him that like, "Yo, we landed a Clarks."
Yeah.
We got to tell him, "Yo, we landed an Adidas shoe."
Yep.
He got to be excited. He got to see the 85th shoes, and
did.
like those were the last shoes he saw. I mean, not the last shoes that we worked on that he saw.
Correct.
Like complaining to us about.
Explain to the crowd a little bit who Danny is.
Danny was Lester's father. If y'all didn't pick up on that by now,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, what up? but yeah, he pretty much. I remember, yeah, like we were working on the 85th shoes,
Yeah.
and he sees like the me, you, and Diana from Arrow. It's a comfort brand. None of y'all really heard of it. Whatever. We're like, we just get the sample in. We're talking about like the multicolor weave on the handball special, and like Danny was very much like his. No one's opinion really mattered more than his to like Lester and I when it came to shoes. You know.
Yep.
So this was like also one of those ones where it's like, yeah, we're gonna like make the shoe, but we don't get to show him, and he doesn't get to. We don't get that like affirmation and that pride that we get from when we make something that Danny is like, hell yeah, you know. So which
That was good.
Yeah.
If he gave you the hell yeah, you had a winner.
Yeah.
He didn't do it often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Generally
so-
speaking,
so-
everything sucked.
Yeah.
You know. So
So wait, so
with
all,
him,
all
so-
the Adidas collabs were all hell yes?
No.
no, well, so it depends. So the 85th shoes. Well, really, we just showed him like the Wizard and the 85th shoes. The handball special, he was like, he understood it like for sure. It's just like he's so used to like black comfort shoes that like he wasn't like that was a little bit like too much of a sneaker for him.
Yeah.
But then when he saw like the SL72, which was more like a brown shoe, even though it's like maroon, that one I remember like I was just with him solo like in his office, which is now Lester's office, and he like picks up the shoe, he looks at it, and he says to me, he's like, you know, you got a good taste. And I'm like, that's like literally like I've probably got like 4 or 5 compliments from Danny over like the 4 years we worked together.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
That's probably the best one I got. Yeah.
When he brings up the Wizard and like the handball special, like how did you? What was your first looks into that?
You know, a little bit cautious, a little bit leery. You know, because at the end, you know, there's all risk involved. You know, business is risk. Everyday life is risk.
Yeah.
But you know, they're calculated risks. And you know, I felt that anyway, the time was right to step back into the ring with that stuff. Or he did, and we made a play for it.
No, yeah, you guys have been tapped in really well with the community, and especially the sneaker community, because you know a lot of these sneakers have been like sought after as well. But like speaking of community, you know, for this campaign, you really tapped in with the community that's in this block right here.
So yeah, I mean with this shoe, yeah. So there was that call out. It says on the inside of the shoe, and it also says it on the box. Honoring those who served to make 72nd Street an iconic block for footwear retail. So obviously, we wanted to make some tie back to Danny, and that's how it happened. But we didn't want to make the marketing and all that like too. You know, we didn't want to make it like a heartthrob. We didn't want to put his name in the shoe because that would be a little bit difficult for us. Yeah. You know, on a personal level, and we also wanted to broaden the scope of this thing because what that kind of made us realize is that, you know, there's different facets to everybody. You know, there's Lester as a person, there's Lester as a shoe store owner, there's Lester as a father, there's Lester as a boss. You know, it's same thing with Danny, right? Danny, like, there's Danny as a father, there's Danny as a shoe store owner, but there's also just Danny as a guy on 72nd Street that literally everyone on the block knows. People, like Lester said on his way to work after Danny passed, like, all these random doormen and people that Lester didn't even know were coming up to him saying that they heard about Danny. And with that kind of made us realize that, hey, like we call out the block on the shoe. Let's tie this to the block. Like let's tie this to the people of the block, people that honestly, if you don't work or live on this block, you might not know. But as we could see from the comments, the people that do live and work on this block, like they know those people. Yeah. People that are like absolute staples. Been here every day for 30 plus years. I think literally everyone that was featured in there has been here every day for 30 plus years, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And just
did you have a hand in who should be in?
Well,
this?
at one point
really.
he was like, "It's got to be me," and I was like,
I mean, I lived my whole life. They shut me out. That's all right. No, but I understood I understood why I shouldn't appear in the video. And I get it because it's not about me. It's about 72nd Street.
Yeah.
It's about the people that you know we appreciate, and like, you know, we wish there was. We kind of at the end of the day wish there was something like that Danny was in while he was around.
Yeah.
You know, something that was like, sure, he had plenty of praise like in footwear and all that, but there was not really much that we could have looked at from like a video point of view that was just like, this is a guy that like, you know, means a lot to the community locally on 72nd Street, that the way that we captured this, that we would have loved to have had, you know, because we knew it. We saw it every day. We saw like, you know, I'd pick up food for him sometimes and people would be like, yo, you're picking up for Danny. I know based off the order, you know, like stuff like that. Whereas like.
He was a creature of habit.
Yeah.
Same stuff.
Same stuff. You also got to remember like lived on the block and worked on the block since what year? Like
1972.
Wow.
Probably.
Yeah.
The year Echo was created.
Yeah. That's right. Wow. It's a good one.
but so yeah, that was kind of.
I do wonder
what
because, you
inspired
know,
that.
the previous collab before this was the Rod Lavers, and you tapped in with Zabar.
Yeah.
And so it like, how's the differences in between that? Like, you know, tapping in with the community here.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I feel like this one was my bad. I feel like this one's
that
a lot
one
more entrenched.
that one was local, as in it was 8 blocks away, and this one was
The
like
block away.
the block. So I guess next one we got to do like this square foot, you know. But with the Rod Laver, I mean that was honestly like pretty much like the marketing for that was something that like Lester and I were like really excited for.
It
Yeah.
was a good one.
And it was something that like we mentioned
Also,
it
a lot of visibility on, you know, like
yeah.
they're big.
But it
Yeah.
was a if you know thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
People that don't know Zabars, people that, you know, it's iconic both like in New York and a little bit globally, but at the end of the day, it's an Upper West Side institution. So we felt like that was it matched up perfectly with the colorway of the shoe.
Yeah.
Honestly, we thought of it after just being totally
Yeah.
straight up, you know, like
valid.
we had the shoe on the way already, and then we were like, whoa, what if we did this? And it worked like a charm. It was
went,
awesome.
It went crazy.
Yeah. And that was like, and they treated us so well, dude. Like,
You eat for free there now, right?
oh, hell no.
You get to shop for free.
No,
it's not like
I pay normal prices there now, as opposed
What about employee
to whatever they would have charged me. But I got to go in the kitchen there. Jordan went in. Jordan was like, "Yo, that thing was crazy."
Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to about this project. I kind of wanted to, if you're cool with it, get Jordan's perspective on the people of the block.
Right here. No, we got an extra
you
mic
have
right
one?
here. Yeah. Sit up here.
You were expecting
Because
him, I
like,
guess.
you know, we kind of wanted to show how it was like, you know, the block was really like a community. You might have to turn it on. And Jordan, as an outsider, you know, dealing with the people, like, yeah, what did you think of that campaign? Like, did you come to realize that pretty much like every block in the city, or 72nd Street specifically, is like its own neighborhood? Is that something you'd say?
I don't know if this is on, but yeah, no, it was definitely interesting to see that, like, right in my comings and goings on the block, in and out
Sure.
of West and Tiptop. See a lot of familiar faces, especially over at Tiptop. But yeah, getting a chance to, you always hear people talk about like community building,
Yeah.
and it's like, you know, I'm from upstate New York, so
Sure.
we're a little more scattered up there, you know what I mean? And yeah, I live in Jersey, so again, I don't live in the heart of New York City, so it's a very eye-opening experience. And just Donna, right?
Donna, yeah.
From the stationery and
Toy
toy
store,
place,
yeah.
like, you know, when we were out there, people just kept coming up, like, oh, you know, apparently she's like semi-retired down
That's right.
in Myrtle Beach, and I don't know, we spent half hour, maybe an hour with her, and the amount of people who came up, like, oh, haven't seen you in so long. You know,
Totally.
just how easy it is for people on the block, perusing the block, like whether they live on the block or passing through, like to recognize these staples of the block. And
Right.
it really is like a true neighborhood, and, well, obviously, I guess, but a real community.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting to see. Yeah, that was probably the coolest part for me. Like I said, I'm an outsider here, so getting a chance to see some of familiar faces and that have just a big part of the community.
Right,
on
but you would
72nd.
never really think that in New York City, where there's millions of people and tourists and locals, and, you know, like, that you'd see the same people twice in a certain respect. But yet these people are like fixtures of the neighborhood, and
Yeah.
everybody knows them, and they know everybody. And it's small town USA on 72nd Street.
Which is wild to even think about too.
it was cool to see when the post went up. I looked in the comments on Instagram.
Right.
It's like, oh, everyone, like, you know, people obviously recognized these, you know, familiar faces
Sure,
from the
local
neighborhood.
celebrities, you can
Yeah,
call them,
yeah.
whatever you want.
That's it. Yeah.
And a lot of
so-
them asked me how to use Instagram to see the post. So you definitely,
Yeah.
you
Where are we
definitely
gonna
don't know
find
them
it?
from Instagram.
Yeah, and just to get to spend some time with them and hear, you know, their take on. A lot of them have, like Adir was saying, have been around 20, 30 years
Sure.
on the block. So to see how the block has changed, how the neighborhood has changed over the years, and also how it stayed the same, and some of these core businesses
Yeah.
have withstood the test of time on
Totally.
this block. It's refreshing to see, because sometimes, you know, things pop, especially in New York City. You see a store pop up, it's here for a
Yeah.
couple years,
And then it's gone
You know,
immediately.
so to see these like mainstays that have like like I said, just withstood the test of time. I think it's important to see that too, that there is the ability to make a lasting impact and have something that can be here to stay, rather than just like a flash in the pan.
Agreed.
It's
know.
a commercial block that's led by small business, and I think that's pretty unique in New York. You don't really have many
Big
commercial
time.
streets that
Yeah.
are like every business is a small business.
Especially now, like I think that the way, you know, the New York is moving, and you know, like the way it's moving is just like, yeah, a lot of these big businesses are just coming in and just buying up lots and
yeah,
stuff
you'll
like that.
you'll know 72nd Street is chopped if a blank street moves in.
Hey, I like Blank Street. Chill. I like Blank Street. All right. Look, man, their green tea is really good. All right. And they're sponsor of this podcast. Use my code. No, just working with the talent around here. I don't know why I've called them talent. We're working with the people around here. How did they like accept you in, or did you have to like, you know?
It was cool. Like I said, like I'm not from around here, so for me,
Yeah.
I'm always interested in hearing different perspectives. So I was probably, I guess, like more inquisitive than they may have expected or wanted to answer. Like I just kept rolling with the questions, like, oh, like, okay, so tell me more. Tell me
Yeah.
more about your time. Tell me more about the block. Like,
Yeah, I think also like a lot of it was like the questions in the video, like the people were answering, like most of them were asked by Jordan. Like I was
Oh, I
like,
didn't
we're,
know that.
we're gonna capture these people and whatever, but like I'm looking through the camera, I'm like kind of freezing up, and Jordan's just talking to these people, you know, because he's genuinely like interested in what they have to say and what their perspective is like on this neighborhood. So like big props to you for that.
See, you're the mayor of.
Good job.
You're the mayor of
I am definitely
72nd.
not the mayor. I'm curious, you know what I mean? Because like I said, when I've known West, when I lived upstate, we
Yeah.
would make trips down to the city, and West
Yeah.
is the place that we would come. But Tiptop was right there, and to be honest, I had no idea what
No
Tiptop was.
idea.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So really,
It's
until I
alright.
started
Wasn't-
working with these guys, I wasn't very familiar. Like I said, I'm an upstate guy. I've lived down in this area about 5 years now. I didn't know what Tiptop was, so to see that and to realize, like, okay, cool, Tiptop, been here, 85 years, and it's like, oh wait. Beyond Tiptop, there's other places that have been here 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 years. You know what I mean? In the neighborhood, it's it's interesting to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I said,
Yeah.
like I'm used to more cruising around Soho, and it's like, oh, store's here for 5 years and then it's gone. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? In these places, and even places when I was in high school would come down, like DQM and
Rest
Sure.
in peace.
old like original Flight Club on Green, and
Yeah.
like some of these places
Transit,
that like
Yellow
Transit.
Rat Bastard.
that's
Transit.
it. Like
Mike used to work there. Michael K.
Mi-
sorry.
Michael-
Okay, sorry.
even Michael K,
David
like-
Z.
Yeah.
That's it. Like I
Yeah.
can remember coming to these places, and it's like, all right, they're, and then like, again, like I live in my bubble. You know, I'm a sneaker guy. I'm not a shoe guy. You
Yeah.
know, so it's like, wait, like Tiptop's been here 85 years selling shoes,
Right.
Yeah.
like
Who
brown
wears
shoes,
those kinds
like
of shoes? Exactly.
I do wonder if
was
there's
like
like,
a
an
learning
actual
process.
like shoe collector. There's just like, because I feel like
There's a lot of boot collectors.
boots, yeah, but
Yeah.
boots last the
Like
same time.
you're a
right?
cowboy.
I like
boot
cowboy
collector.
Like
boots.
cowboy
Yeah, I
boots?
love
Yeah.
cowboy
Do you do
boots.
like you shine it up and you do your stuff? Like you,
He has
like,
a
you know-
boot jack, but I
you
don't
know-
think you shine them.
No, I don't shine them. I shine my loafers myself, though.
I'm thinking more of like, when people be like, and everybody in the crowd here will understand this, is when you relace a pair of sneakers.
Mhm.
That's like your moment of zen, right? Is that the same for like, putting
I
putting a nice shine on the
suppose
shoe?
so. It is. Yeah. I feel like I did something important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fire.
It is. You
I
know,
love
it's
that.
subtle fire, but it's fire.
Look.
It's like a smoldering fire, but it's good. It's makes me feel good about myself.
Oh,
yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention though
Yeah.
is that like with the casting of the people in the video and the pictures, it was like I feel like Jordan, you might not have like knew why I picked those people. And then until we start shooting and you're like, and they start talking, and you're like, yeah, no, this makes sense. Like these people, they're the right people for this.
Yeah, I would say in all of the projects we've worked on so far today, I'm just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, it always starts with the Adir,
Like,
what the hell are you doing?
explain to me, like give me some context here. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? Like, so yeah, like, so we did a couple, but like Mario.
Yeah, sure.
Mario was like the most, I don't want to say the most interesting, but like, what an interesting guy. Like, I really enjoyed just sitting there talking and chatting with him.
Which
and
one's
like,
Mario?
The mayor of West 77.
Oh, yeah.
Houndstooth
That's the, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, that was probably the person where I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to start just asking questions. I'm like, just want to know more. And with him, it was just interesting. Like, he was really kind of the one that like drove home the idea of like community and like the neighborhood, like really being a community and, for I guess for lack of a better term, like a self-sustaining community where everyone looks out for everyone.
Right.
Like that was his big thing. Like, hey, I'm here to help in any way that I can.
Yeah.
That was interesting because New York is so busy and there's just so much going on. You always hear like stories about like, oh, like, you know, people just head down, keep it pushing. You know what I mean? We're not paying attention. All the crazy shit that could be going on. You just keep it pushing. For him, it was like,
There's crazy shit that happened in New York.
yeah. For him, it was quite the opposite. Like he's just like, you know, I'm here to help in any way I can. If I see someone falling down or, you know, falling on hard times, like as the mayor of 72nd, they know I'm here to help. And that was just
Yeah, and I
a
think
different
like
kind
What
of
was do you have a
approach.
first interaction with him?
Lester's
I've known him for
yeah.
probably 30 years.
He-
I don't remember my first interaction with him, but he's always been around and always looking, you know, his head's on a swivel and he's looking out for the neighborhood and the people in it.
And I'd also say that like the way he helps is like very like catered to this neighborhood where he was telling us about how he helps like the elderly, and like this is at the end of the day the Upper West Side does have like a very large elderly constituent, you know, that needs shoes and sizes and widths. But yeah, but
What's
you
the
know.
name of the thing? Everybody, the thing. What's it?
The Brannick device?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Brennan's device. There
Made
we
in
go.
Syracuse, New York.
Yeah, they all are, right? Yeah.
That's the original Brannick
Yeah.
device from Syracuse, New York.
Look, I'm always like the shoe scale.
Yep.
That's what I call it.
Okay.
I'm like the shoe scale, the foot scale, because I can
From
never.
now on, you call it the Brannick.
Yes.
okay? All right.
I think we're towards the end of the podcast here, so I'm gonna ask my little last question here, and it deals with a little visualization. I want you to think back.
Okay.
To young Lester.
Yep.
And he's about to open. What should we do? The tech chair, the Air Tech Challenge, or
Yeah.
should we do the
You could
New Balance?
do the New Balance. I think
Yeah.
that's the easy
All
one,
right.
yeah.
So
Okay.
think back to young Lester as he's getting his New Balance. What
Mhm.
was this?
740.
740. And now you're older you
Yep.
behind your younger self. What would you tell your younger self as he opens that box?
I thought you were talking about the other New Balance.
No, I thought it was the first one, right?
What would I tell myself? I guess that how would I say it? Not that the pair is going to change your life, but how influential that, not that specific pair, but the idea of wanting something like that would become a passion of yours. And not knowing, you know, like the first time you do anything, you may not know how much you're going to like it or what kind of impact it's going to leave on you. And whether it was that pair that led me to the next pair, the lasting effect that it all had on me will last a lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, it's 50, you know, well, whatever, however old I am, doesn't matter. But the point is that I'm still interested in opening the boxes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I love opening the boxes, whether it's the shipment of boxes that come through and I want to see how the shoe delivered and did it come as we thought it was going to come, or, you know, hopefully it looks even better than it did. But just to get that excited and that enthusiastic about anything, I guess, you know, whatever makes you happy is a good thing, you know? So that's my story.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, let everybody know where to find Jordan first.
Had Jordan Kaiser, Instagram.
At Derlanders.
Yeah. Lester.
At home.
There you go.
That's where I go.
And I'm who was Haas on all social medias. Follow the podcast. This has been a live episode of the podcast. Shout out to everybody in the crowd Appreciate everyone.
Thank you
y'all.
very much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
y'all.
It's a pleasure, really.
Yeah.
Thank you for checking out this week's episode with Adir and Lester of West NYC. It's really cool to really just like embrace the crowd and see people pull up for a live episode. This is my third live episode. The first one, I was able to do it in a comedy club with comedians in the beginning. And so very interesting. Please check out that. It's going to be at the end of this podcast episode. I'm going to link it at the end. But I interviewed Jesse Villanueva, and we got to hear some A-Life stories. So it was really cool, and it was the first time I ever did a live show in front of a live audience. I was super duper nervous. This being my third one, I wasn't as nervous. My second one, obviously, we did it with Sneaky Leak and Phil in Cincinnati, and I got to kind of like spearhead that, and it went terribly, in my opinion, for me. Just in terms of just like recording, and dealing with the equipment I wasn't familiar with, but I know. Episode 218 for that. I was able to do it over the next day and interview people like AD and Aaron and Phil and Elena and Melissa. So I had to take like a different approach to kind of make up for the missteps that happened that day. But this time I relied on my people, man. So shout out to Connor from my friend's basement. That's where I record every week when you see me in studio. And he was able to pull up. And big shout out to Wes for embracing it, and Adir to hit me up to wanting to do that. Because, we talked about these Clarks in the episode, and there's only 300 pairs made. They were able to hook me up with a pair. I really would love to see this shoe sell out because, man, this episode was super cool. I mean, it really hits home for me because I used to go there as I was a kid. And so to be able to host my own live podcast from a place I used to just visit as a kid is crazy. I mean, I'm forever thankful. I mean, I couldn't say thank you enough to Adir and Lester after the episode. I can't say thank you enough to Adir and Lester for even letting me doing that there, because, man, I remember, even though we talked about me not getting the shoe, I remember going up there for the New Balance. I think they were like the 540s or whatever, but they're like this like gray and bluish New Balance. I'll probably put in a picture right here to help me out, or maybe I won't. We'll see. Let's see how I feel. But I remember going up there to try to cop those New Balances, and I was just late. I couldn't. The crosstown bus when I used to live in the Upper East Side would take forever sometimes, right? Or I would have to take an M68 bus and then walk all the way up because it would leave me like super far. And I was just like, I took forever. The line was too long. I got there, and by the time I got to the front of the line, I'm pretty sure it was Mike. Mike was like, "We're out." But West is like a legendary spot to me. And I hope I show that in this episode. And I hope y'all enjoyed learning the history behind Tiptop and West. And I'm really appreciative of everybody that pulled up. I had lots of familiar faces. I had previous guests in the crowd. It was just really cool to be able to kind of do my first kicks in front of a crowd. And that's like the goal. I want to do more of that. I want to be able to bring that experience of being in the studio and hearing these stories to everyone. And it's really cool to do it at sneaker shops and do it with a sneaker shop, especially helping them release a sneaker. And doing that twice has been like, I never thought I'd ever be in a situation to do that. And so it's just been, this year has been really, really cool. And I know this is going to be dropping after Thanksgiving, but I also want to say, I'm really thankful for the experience that anybody that listens to this has given me, and the experience that anybody that even just like tells anybody about this podcast has been able to give me. And I'm forever thankful because I'm getting the opportunity to do this even while having a 9-to-5. And so as this continues to grow, and hopefully as I continue to bring in more people to help and also include anybody that's listening. You know, it's always the goal to hear more My First Kick story. It's always a goal to have more conversations. It's always the goal to just make this as fun as it can, because this is what it's all about. It's all about having fun and hearing other people's journeys and learning from that, learning from past mistakes, growing this, becoming better at conversations, becoming better as a person, becoming better at doing everything that I'm hoping I can basically fulfill, right? I really want, in this time of Thanksgiving, I'm just gonna get on this little high horse real quick. We know we live in such a separated state. There's some people that don't like each other sitting at the table or have sat at the table since we're post Thanksgiving. There's people that we just refuse to have conversations with, but I'm always that person that just wants to have that conversation. I'm always that person that just wants to hear different sides. I'm always that person that wants to hear people out and give people grace whenever it's allotted, obviously. If you ever meet me in public, I'm always inviting. I always want to hear about you. I'll give everyone, my time, because I'm asking for y'all's time, right? 247 episodes, that's an hour each. That's a 247 hours. And so, as I go and grow to whatever episode is next, or the last, or whatever, wherever this journey takes me, I'm always going to be inviting of anybody that wants to be a part of this, anybody in any format. Like, if you just want to listen to it, if you just want to talk to me, if you just want to share this with your friends and sit around a iPhone on speaker and hear about this or talk about it, like, that's what this is about. And I just want to say thank you, because without y'all, there wouldn't be any of this. And so that's just my little spiel at the end. And I hope everyone had a pretty good turkey day. But of course, on to Patreon shout outs. And you can also get a shout out by signing up for the Patreon at patreon.com/myfirstkicks. So of course, got to start off with Adam Newstetter, Ross Adams, Derek Lipkin, Jesse G, Adam Butler, Plox. Shout out Plox. And you got to follow me somewhere, man. You got to hit me up, because you've been really on the Patreon for real. So I really appreciate you. And new patron, shout out Samia. Samia, thank you for becoming a patron. Big fan of the Snobette. We did a panel together, and so thank you for your support. And like I said, anybody can become a supporter. Join the Patreon, patreon.com. All your hard-earned money will go a long way. I'm going to definitely make sure, especially over these like breaks that I'm going to be having from work, get some extra content up there. Get into more of a content calendar specifically for the Patreon. Going to be putting up exclusive content on there, more pictures from a lot of the stuff that I barely post on Instagram, because I'm just the worst at posting on Instagram. But you know where to follow me. I'm going to say it again, because I think I said it at the end of this episode, maybe, but I'm just going to say, who is Haas on social medias. Follow the podcast at My First Kicks Pod. Definitely hit up West. Cop these. They're right on the West website. I'm going to put a link in the description of the podcast where you can cop these. Limited quantity. I don't know why I said quality. This is very high quality, but limited quantity. Definitely pick up a pair. These are super comfortable. Also, if you want your My First Kick story to be read to a guest, hit me up, info@myfirstkicks.com. And if you want to check out more of the podcast, check out these 2 episodes here. Subscribe to the podcast, of course. And you know what we say each week? Wear your kicks. Peace.